This meeting is called to order. Welcome to the February 7th meeting of the Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pelletieri to do the superintendent's report and introduce the guest speakers to recognize our musicians and our presentations on curriculum and budget and everything else. So, Dr. Pelletieri.
Mr. Scavo, thank you so much. Yes, let's jump right in as we always do. We're going to recognize some outstanding Sachem musicians. So, David, you're going to start? Come on in, please. David, introduce yourself, please, and then we can start right with the kids. Do they have their certificates already? Fantastic.
Oh, there, look at that. Hello, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Mr. Jack Litch. I am the chairperson for secondary music here. And today we are recognizing our outstanding musicians who were either involved in the Long Island String Festival Association or the NISCAIM All-County or the NISMA All-State Conference. The LISFA, which again is the Long Island String Festival Association, is orchestras. We have a fifth grade orchestra, a sixth grade orchestra, a 7-8, a 9-10, and an 11-12. And all of those orchestras are made up of the top students throughout all of Suffolk County on string instruments. The NISCAIM All County Festival is for the top 11th and 12th grade students across all of Suffolk County in band and choir and orchestra. And this year we have 9 students who were either an alternate or chosen to participate in the All-State Conference, which happened this past December in Rochester. 3 students who were chosen to participate and 6 others who were recognized as being alternates. And so I would like to introduce them at this time. We are going to start with the LISFA students. And I'm going to go from starting with our 5th grade LISFA students. We have River Edwards Wilson. River Edwards Wilson. And then we have River's coming in. And then we have Lena Braytek. And we have Hannah Rentz and Nicholas Pankey. And then we have our grade 6 LISFA students. And here tonight we have Lucas Nielsen, Alyssa Spera, Ryan Rabbit, Aiselin Huang, Juliana Bing, and Gabriela Nieves. Our 7th and 8th grade LISFA students who are here today. We have Emma Kellia, Taylor Fink, Mia DeJesus, Dilana Kosiba, Jillian Rabbit, and then we have our 9th and 10th grade LISFA students. And those are Ethan Edelman, CJ Schilling, Isabella Meichner, Kaya Pai, and our 11th and 12th grade LISFA students include Mason Vaughn, Samantha McCullough, and Sarah Vetter. And that's it for LISPA. We're going to move on to the all county students to join us. Would you like a picture for this? Absolutely. Picture opportunity for LISPA. Parents, don't be shy. Would you like them out in the hall then? LISPA students, if you could please go out in the hall. I'll hand you your certificates in just a moment. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to our NISCAIM all county students. Tonight here we have Jaden Rudnicki, Anthony Romano, Ryan Panzerino, Matthew Peluso, Lydia Hitchelmaz, Owen Kavanaugh, Dreshta Bogra, Ashley Edgar, Ava Daw, Colin Verasto. Oh, and Robin Gillespie. Sorry, I didn't check him off. Would you like me to do all state or should we do a picture for all county? I think they're all standing up here already. Oh, except for Mason and Armand. I have two others in the hall. Would you like to? All right, great. So for all state, I would like to once again recognize Jaden Rudnicki. And Robin Gillespie. And joining us from the hallway, we also have Armand Sandhu. Oh, he's here now. Sorry. And Mason Vaughn. Where'd Mason go? Thank you so much, all county and all state students. I have certificates for you in the hallway. Have a lovely evening. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good evening, everyone. You're welcome to stay to hear about curriculum or budgets. Or I know it's not very exciting. Welcome to stay. Take care. Good to see you again. Ms. Hines, we're going to jump in, okay? Begin with our curriculum presentation. Earlier this year, or the end of last year, the board asked us to provide some insights to them and the community around different aspects of our curriculum. And tonight, we're going to look closely at world language and CTE, I believe, correct?
We are.
You have some guest presenters here as well?
We do. You're probably sick of seeing Dr. Miller and I, but I feel like
Never.
we always have to open up the presentation. And then our amazing chairs for world language and CTE are here tonight to just share some highlights. And again, I can't thank you all enough, especially some of the board members who had asked for highlights of our curriculum instruction program. We're so proud of it. And tonight, we're just going to share a little bit about our pathways, our exploratory units in the middle school and the high school for both world language and CTE. So if I can ask our chairs to come on up as well. And ladies, if you don't mind, when we, as soon as you're in your part, just introduce yourself again and just go through everything. Dr. Miller? All right, so we're going to first talk about a little bit about our high school programs, and we're going to be very, very quick. I know we sent the board today a presentation who had like many slides in it, but we're going to go through it pretty quickly tonight through, the things that just generally a parent, a student would get in their guidance handbook. So maybe Dr. Miller, you can talk a little bit about some of this of the next slides. These are, so the next few slides that we have, it talks about our career and training program, all the different courses that we have by RCT programs, world language, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our highlights.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. So on the left-hand side here are our CTP programs that we offer in-house.
Miller, what's a seat? Whoa, sorry. Just a little background on CTE.
Yeah. CTP program is our career training programs. So those are the ones that we currently offer in-house, and on the right-hand side are the programs that we send students to BOCES to. We do have a new addition this year in that next year we can send students for EMT training through BOCES as well. We've had students over the past couple of years express interest in that. So Dr. Pelletieri and Ms. Trombetta kind of opened that up, so we're allowing that to happen as well.
So for EMT training,
Yes, sir.
do they get certified?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
upon
and
completion. Yep.
what's so important about this area, right? Meredith, I'm going to give you a shout out here for a second. I know we all talk about it, but you talk about it at great lengths with me around career training, right? And making sure kids leave us prepared, not just for college, but for careers as well. And some families choose to go right into that area or that aspect. And I can't think of something more important, right? Mrs. Floyle and EMT training and the like. So outstanding that we're able to provide that for our kids, that they can walk out certificated from high school.
And today at both high schools, we actually had a field trip to BOCES to bring interested students to go and check out various programs that they'd be interested in. So both high school guidance staffs accompanied those kids a couple of bus loads over to the programs to see what sort of options they have. So kids are constantly asking about programs and enrolling in them. So I will turn it over to Ms. Anthony to discuss the business department.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Anthony. I'm the Career Tech Ed Chair for the North Side. I also have a partner, Andrew Sifuni, but he was unable to make it. So I'll speak on behalf of business as well as family and consumer sciences and technology. As you can see from the slide, we are offering many different business courses. Probably one of the most important courses, the one that's first listed, is Career and Financial Management, offered to all students, probably a course that we should see all kids in because it is addressing just personal finance as well as giving them opportunities for career exploration. And then you can see that there's over 13 different courses that students can take: our accounting, marketing, virtual enterprises, sports and entertainment management, Wall Street investments, social media marketing, retail fashion, hospitality and tourism. There really are so many opportunities in business for our students to take. And what's wonderful is many of the courses are available for college credit. There are up to 21 credits available to students to take through business. In the family and consumer sciences, we have opportunities available grades through 9. It varies, but child development, where students can learn about, caring for a child, parenting. And then, of course, what everybody's most familiar with is our culinary cooking, our American and world baking and pastry, where students can learn different passions they have in those areas regarding cooking. And then we have housing and interior, fashion and sewing. So in that area, if you're interested in working in, the fashion industry, or even just on the real estate side, and you're doing decorating of housing and houses, there's opportunities there as well. And then our cosmetology program, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. We have technology. Again, many different courses where we cover most of the trades. So, that is computer aided design, our electricity. We have welding. We have our CTP programs and construction and computer repair and security. So a lot of different options for our kids in CTE. In all grade levels. And obviously, as kids are getting older, there's more opportunities that present to them.
So before we move on to world languages, I just wanted to share that, Lisa talked a lot about like our CTE classes that we have, but here in Sachem, we are very fortunate in that not only do we have your typical family consumer science, technology, business courses, we also have career training programs, or what she has been saying, CTP, right? So in most districts, students send their children out to BOCES for some of those programs. And we do as well, but we also have, again, cosmetology, our computer repair. Those are the type of programs that we have that are still here in our district. And so that is something that we should really be very prideful of, because we don't, like, many districts don't have that. So we have, yes, of course, students going out, but we also have our own programs as well. So I just wanted to make sure. Okay. All right. World languages next.
Good evening. My name is Christy Zumo, and I'm the World Language Chairperson at Sachem North, Samoset Middle School, and Seneca Middle School.
And I'm Alexis Kammer. I'm the World Languages Chairperson at Sachem East and Sagamore Middle School. Thank you for having us tonight.
We're here tonight to share the language learning journey in the Sachem School District. 2 years ago, we introduced an extension to our language program in the 6th grade, where students learn Spanish, French, and Italian before their 7th grade language selection.
In the middle schools, we offer a pathway to receive a language graduation credit that extends through the high school with a pathway of completing a sequence that achieves the Advanced Designation Regents Diploma.
Beyond completing the sequence, we offer a pathway for college credit, an AP program, as well as beginning a new language of American Sign Language and a heritage program for our Spanish speakers.
We'd like to highlight that we teach more than language with a foundation of the 5 C's, which are communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. The 5 C's are part of our world readiness standards that push learning a language beyond the instructional setting. We strive to prepare our students with global competence for their future careers and life experiences.
In the classroom, we're about what students can do. We would like to allow our classroom reel to speak
Or sign.
for itself. May we do our reel now? Okay.
Yeah.
So join us in the journey from 6th grade through 12th grade in the World Language Department. I got to keep going. We'll come back. Oh. Hold on, everybody.
Ahí el arroz con habichuela, Puerto Rico lo regaló. Y la tambora merenguera, dominicana ya repicó. México, Colombia, Venezuela, del Caribe.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Here's the alphabet in front.
Pause. It's Wi-Fi. Then the students go on to sing the alphabet in French and then Spanish. And if it comes to, we'll kind of continue through middle school and high school to see how they're building their language skills to be seniors who are speaking fluently and conducting class fluently in language and what a life skill that is.
All right, I guess we're having a little bit of
Right.
Wi-Fi problems.
It's okay.
Sorry. Elsie, ready to click off of that, huh? Sorry, ladies.
No, that's okay.
Our esteemed board, we will make sure that you do have this presentation, but we'll make sure that you have the most updated one. So, thank you, ladies. Yes, correct.
Sure.
Thank you so much, ladies. Lisa, do you mind coming back and just sharing a little bit
Yeah.
of the highlights for you as well?
All right. I'll be quick, although I have many, many highlights, but I will.
Well, we said, wow, there's a lot of slides, but we were gonna kind of go through them a little bit.
So as I mentioned, family and consumer sciences, I think what you'll see for CTE, the common theme is that we are preparing our students for post-secondary education and employment. And we focus a lot on our career clusters, our career pathways, and transferable skill sets. So with all of those areas, we are spending time developing those transferable skills that are going to help students with their future employment. And of course, if as they choose post-secondary education, it'll work out well there too. Okay, so I'll just jump in with the cosmetology department, cosmetology program, which is a career training program. Students are in this program learning about hair cutting, different makeup techniques, skincare, nails, and they are working towards licensure. This is a 4-period class. So we have our juniors, we have our seniors, and they are spending their time learning all of these techniques. Some of the highlights that are here is they are very active in the community, and they do a lot of service. This is a breast cancer event that they participated in, where they did hairstyling and different extensions. They recently had the Get Chopped Barber bus come, and they got to learn hair cutting techniques. And you can see them all squeezed into the bus. And that was pretty exciting for them. And they also went to Sephora recently, where they were able to see lip plumping treatments. And that goes with the whole skincare part of their curriculum, which is exciting for them. Here's some additional family consumer science highlights. So we have our kids who are learning cookie decorating and baking and pastry. The SCOPE representatives came recently and talked to our early childhood education internship students and talked to them about employment opportunities and what it's like to, work in the early childhood industry and what they can expect. They got to ask questions. And then you just see all our culinary classes. Kids get to choose a lot of their recipes. And we try to keep it very student-centered where they're fully engaged in, learning different culinary skills and getting to be creative in the kitchen and working collaboratively with their kitchen mates and so forth.
I keep popping in those culinary classes, but nothing's ever like ready for me to eat.
Oh, well,
nothing.
So if you really want to eat Thursday and Friday, that's
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and
Is
Friday.
it all day or what time specific? I'm
We-
pretty busy.
We fortunately run cooking classes 9 periods a day. So
Okay.
hop on in.
All right. Thank you. Do some judging.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the
Dom, you're in
common,
that class?
Yeah, I'm taking cooking up food trends.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Friday we got free cook Friday, so we're gonna be making pancakes and bacon.
Pancakes with bacon?
Yeah.
I like mine extra crispy.
All right. I'll
All
keep
right.
that in
What
mind.
period is that, Dom?
That is third period.
Third period? I have to check my schedule. All right. Thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, a common theme in the CTE program is we are always developing skills, attitudes, and competencies so that our students are successful in post-secondary and as well as in the workforce and generally as adults consuming a lot of these things. So we really spend time on those transferable skills, as I mentioned earlier. And again, college credit, up to 21 credits. A lot of our students take advantage of that. And, they are leaving here with 21 credits. And some of them are business majors, some of them are not. So I think it's really a great opportunity that we can offer that to them. So just some general highlights. We have a virtual enterprise program. That is a class that focuses on entrepreneurship skills. And they run a business in that class. Part of the program that they are using, they get to attend trade shows and conferences where they can work on those transferable skills. They're doing sales pitches, they're networking with other firms in the business, in the program, which are, there's actually firms internationally, and they are going to be heading to a trade show in April in New York City at the Javits Center that'll have over 1,300 firms at it, where they set up a trade booth and they make their sales pitches. And it's an amazing program. A lot of our seniors who are in that program, that is the course they rave about because they're really able to get a real life perspective of what it's like to really run a business. Career and financial management, there's lots of things that happen on in there where they're practicing interviewing skills, working on resumes. Recently, they wrote letters of compliment to some of the businesses that they were interested in. And surprisingly, lots of businesses wrote back, sent them different tchotchkes, different goodies. And, you can see some of those things in the pictures there. It's a nice opportunity to interact with, the business community. We always run a project where students get to be advisors for the day if they're in the Wall Street investments class, and they can practice using their skills and their knowledge of investments. And they get to sit with a teacher or a building administrator and review their accounts and give them a recommendation. Field trips, we offer lots of field trips. Recently, we've gone to MetLife Stadium, the Central Islip Courthouse, Five Towns College, Baker's Workshop. Great opportunity to expand the viewpoint of the student. They get to really relate the material that we are talking about in class at some of these places, where they get full tours of most of these places. They get to talk to people in the industry and get their questions answered. So good opportunity for them. All right, and then in technology, we have career training programs, as Mrs. Hines mentioned earlier. One of them is carpentry. And in this class, if you've been to any of the high schools, you may have seen the house that they built. right? And they build it from the ground up. So you can see that there's framing that they've done. They are starting to work on the interior where they're doing all the wiring, the plumbing, the drywall, the tiling, pretty much everything. And, you know, they've had the opportunity this year to construct some sheds for the elementary schools. So you can see some of those pictures. They also had the opportunity to go down to the Ronkonkoma train station where they're doing all that construction by TriTech. And they were able to see different aspects of construction and as well as talk about employment opportunities. The second career training program in tech is the computer repair and the network security, where these students are working towards industry certifications so that they can work on IT networks, computer networks. They also run a small business in their classes where they repair computers for free. So if you have anything, you want to bring it down, they're happy to work on it. Helps them develop those skills. These are just general pictures of some of the other courses we run, the electricity, the rockets, we have the robotics, the woodworking, so various projects that are presented in that class or worked on in that class. And that concludes my highlights.
I feel bad. I know we're going a little bit over, but before the link for our world language ladies didn't really work, if we could just give them 2 more minutes to just kind of, again, Allison, if you don't mind just hitting that one more time.
We think it's going to work now?
We're sending all the good juju.
Oh, okay. What's different between now and then?
This is our new exploratory program, Spanish, French, Italian, where kids get the opportunity to give it a try.
Here's the alphabet in French. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, Z,
And then we head up into our middle schools where they continue to explore culture, language, in our 7th and 8th grade programs. Communication is constant, conversations, presentations, projects, puppet shows.
No quiero ir al cine porque es aburrido. También no quiero porque no me gusta. Okay, está bien. ¿Dónde quiero ir? ¿Quieren ir a la playa? No quiero ir porque hace mucho frío. No quiero ir.
We're fortunate to have a lot of natural, social, emotional connections in the class with language. It's a lot of fun.
¿Quieren invitar a nuestras novias? Sí, claro, me encantaría. Sí, ¿cuánto quieren aquí?
So this is a border project that our upper levels did where they spoke with someone who worked at the border. This is our heritage course where the students get a great opportunity to connect. And then we're going to check out our seniors in action after the journey has gone through. This is an Italian student, not a native speaker.
Negli Stati Uniti in giro al mondo e persino I parenti nella famiglia. Knowing a foreign language allows you to speak with more people in the US, around the world, and even with your family members.
Ofrece un mundo de oportunidades
One of our
en el
upper level
futuro
Spanish
para viajar,
students.
conocer a nuevas personas y su carrera.
Not only are our students learning the language, but they're learning the importance of making connections with the communities, their cultures, other cultures. We have a lot of students that become much more culturally sensitive and are preparing themselves to enter the global community that we really live in, the global world.
And these students are also getting college credit, so they can get up to 6 credits as seniors for French, Italian, and Spanish. And also for ASL, they can get up to 6 credits through Stony Brook, and French, Italian, and Spanish is through Adelphi.
So they can leave with 12 college credits before even graduating and moving on, which is a nice opportunity.
Maybe if you jump ahead just a little bit, maybe we can get to the ASL video part. We might.
Ladies, while we're doing that, can I ask a question?
Yes, of
do,
course.
do you find that the sixth grade exploratory program,
It's been huge.
yeah, is that getting more kids engaged? Are kids taking different languages than they would have in the past because of the exposure? What's the impact?
So we know that they absorb it. The earlier they start it, it's better for their language learning. Anyone who tries to start a language later on, it's challenging. Our brains have a hard time processing it. So the younger they start, the better. And our 6th graders are coming into their 7th grade classes. Once they've picked a language that they tried out all 3. They know which one they want to go with. And the foundation is there so that the 7th grade teachers say they're flying through the preliminary units. The kids know so much. They understand what verbs are and conjugating and the cultural piece. So there's really a lot of benefits to our 6th grade program. It's been huge.
And one of the things I've definitely noticed going into the classrooms is the comfortability factor. These students are not scared to speak. They're not afraid to make mistakes with their colleagues, with their teachers. So I think our 6th grade teachers have really done an amazing job in encouraging our students to try something new. And it's okay to be wrong. If you do something wrong, it's okay. Just practice communicating and get your point across. And what you can do with the language is really the most important thing. What are you, able to do? Not what can you not do? What can you do?
And when we go down to the middle schools and we pop into the classes, so one part of the year you'll walk in and the teacher's doing everything entirely in Spanish and the kids are following along. Take out your books, put this over here, everyone stand up. And then a few months later you go in and they're taking French and the teacher's doing it entirely in French. And then the next time it's Italian. So in that year, I always like to pop into the classes early on and say, in a couple months, you're going to know 3 new languages. And the kids are like, what? It's incredible how much they're getting out of it. It's very, 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 very cool. And are we stuck on that? Okay, so we went on to American Sign Language. Our students, we have some videos of them showing different vocabulary and then doing the national anthem at our pep rally in front of the entire school. Really another awesome life skill for them to develop and be able to use, in their future careers.
And I think this is another good option for the students that may not be so comfortable being verbal students. They may be a little bit more on the shy side where they're able to use their hands and still get their point across.
And then the other highlight is our Heritage program, which connects native Spanish speakers who are in our district, who maybe live at home and speak Spanish, come to school and they speak English. And that piece that they can connect with in class is really great for the students in the class and the teacher. They have a common experience, common conversation, and so you walk in and the entire class is entirely in Spanish. They're not starting out in a Spanish 2 with kids who are starting a language for the first time. They take the FLACS exam, they get their sequence, it's really been great for that.
And one of our goals is to prepare them for their upper education. So we're looking to fine tune both their English and their Spanish skills to prepare them for higher education and eventually for the working world in whatever setting that they choose. So we've been doing resumes with them, interviewing
Interviews.
skills. And it's really nice to see them at some point during the day really feel comfortable in it at home in a place where maybe they felt uncomfortable speaking Spanish because maybe their English isn't the best. But it's been really fun to see them so happy and comfortable.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. So thank you again tonight for having us. It was a very nice opportunity for Dr. Miller and I, all of our chairs, to be able to share if there's any questions at all.
Any questions from the board? Good. Meredith?
Thank you for bringing the EMT training. That is very valuable. I don't know if they share it, but our volunteer fire departments will help you with college tuition. There's certain parameters, but they will help the volunteer firefighters with their college tuition if they go to a local college. So they have to put in a certain amount of time, but if we can get the details on that and share it with the EMT classes. I think that would be really important to them.
Other questions? Dominic?
I remember you saying through the language, there's a pathway for the advanced diploma. I know that there's one through technology because I'm taking it. Is there one for the business program?
For an advanced diploma?
Like to reach the advanced diploma?
Do you mean when you graduate, you like your diploma is 4+1, and then you have like the endorsement of business?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for technology, if I instead of taking a language, I could take 5 credits of technology.
Yes,
and then
correct.
I received the
Yes.
advanced
Yeah.
diploma.
There's various pathways, which I'll let Dr. Millen talk a little bit more about. And yes, our CTE, which would be one, so business would be a part of that.
BOCES for the CTE program.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'd probably venture at each high school 80, 90
Per
at each high school.
And is there one particular subject area that's probably the most popular, or the top 3 popular?
We've started to see welding is picking up, medical assistant, law enforcement. Those are the 3 that kind of jump out as being the big ones right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you guys for coming out, and ladies for coming out tonight and presenting to us. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you one and all. Very, very informative. I appreciate your time tonight.
Chris, before we jump into the budget, do we want to do these 3 fast ones, these quick ones, charter school?
Sure.
These are just updates.
The charter school update. The charter school, we were notified unofficially, but still notified that they are preparing to move to Central Islip. Mr. Venator, I don't know if you have any. Did you hear? How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well. Sorry I'm late.
Good. No apology necessary. I understand that they are prepared and beginning to move, and they're prepping that building down there, this school they're going to go to, and that they will be going for this September 1 is the plan.
That's what we heard. We have foiled the final lease. We haven't gotten it back yet.
Yep.
But that's what we've heard.
Okay, that's what we've heard as well. And I will say that we've attempted to get an updated roster from them and have not as of thus far, and have not sent them any funds of late because we haven't gotten that updated roster. So we'll continue to do that. There must be some miscommunication somewhere along the line, but we'll make sure that we effort that. But I just wanted the board to know that we did hold off on that most recent payment, but we do know that and have heard that they would be moving out. Okay?
Questions? No?
One question.
Okay.
There's a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that a couple of us would help them pack if they needed help. So that maybe we could send them a sympathy
Is that a
card, too.
question, Mr. Piccarello?
Ms. Issernia?
Yes, I do. I also apologize for being late. When your mother tells you got to do something. So I
Understood.
feel for you guys. Chris, there are costs associated that we are supporting because they're inside our boundaries.
That's correct.
As of September 1st, we believe those costs will be gone.
That's correct.
Do we know what those costs are?
We'll have them nailed down. One, for example, is a nurse. We provide the nurse because they're here within our boundaries, and we will no longer have to do that. We'll pay a subset of what that nurse will cost. Someone else will be picking up that
That's
bigger
presuming,
piece.
presuming the kids inside our boundaries to continue to go there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, Chris, the New York State field test.
Yes, we received from New York State a request, or I don't know if it's you can couch it as a request. We received from New York State field tests. They want us to test 21 students at Nokomis, 30 students at Sagamore, and 30 students at East. These are E&L students in those buildings. It would be one period, and we would be utilizing a field test for the NYSA slot, which would be, in other words, an attempt to try and improve upon the NYSA slot that we have currently. So it would be an opportunity for them to get some feedback around these potential changes to the NYSA slot, utilizing our students. I know our board has offered or brought up concerns around utilizing our students for field tests, and before I pushed it out to the schools and said, let's begin this process, I wanted to give the board the opportunity to revisit that.
Questions from what, Alex?
Meredith made a good suggestion the other day, and I think we should follow it, is that I wouldn't do anything for the state until they give us all the money back that they owe us. And then we could be partners in education with them. But until they fully fund our foundation aid and they stop putting the money on our taxpayers they're going to have to fulfill it, I say that we don't do anything that they ask until they want to actually be partners with us in all of this. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm a no.
Anybody else, Meredith?
I just, I was wondering, because I don't know as much about education as you guys do, because they chose ENL, and obviously we have a influx in that section. Are they willing to give us money for this towards those students? Is there any money attached to it in any way?
There aren't any funds attached to it, no.
All right, then send it back.
Stephanie?
Is there any benefit to our kids?
So, at the risk of being on this side, this side of the argument, I would just argue that, or debate, or offer that it gives kids a glimpse at some changes that might come in the future. And the overall purpose of field tests is to try to improve the tests. And I know we have for many years offered to the state that we are concerned about the tests that they give our students. And so I've always felt like if we're concerned about the tests, we should take part in those attempts to improve the tests. And that is those are these field tests.
Cerny?
So when I read this, this is a verbal test. This is not written. This is like an exchange between a teacher and a student to gauge their understanding of the language. Is that?
Yes, sir. There are different aspects to the NICES slot. It is a test that students, ENL students, take each year.
And they take it at all these levels?
Yes. There's different parts to it each year.
So when you say this is one period, what do you mean? There's going to be one teacher who's going to be in a room with all those kids, and
they would collect the kids, put them in a space. Yes, whether 30 kids, yeah, in a classroom, I would imagine, and a teacher would be with them, and then they would go through those the questions. Some have to be, I don't know in particular with this test. Sometimes they're individualized, sometimes it's in a group. So we'd have to, work that piece out.
And we don't get reimbursed for the teacher's time in any way.
No.
Okay, Alex.
My concern is that we're giving these tests out. They could show that our kids need more support, but out of the other side of the state's mouth, they're cutting funding, so we can't offer the support. So which is it? Are they going to help us with the support? What is the data going to help us with? It's not going to give us more aid. It's not going to give us any more support for these kids that need it. So what is the point of? I don't see it. I'm just if you know something that we don't, I just don't see it.
Globally, the attempt is to improve the test for kids so we'd get better data. That's all I can offer.
What are they? I'm sorry.
How many districts get chosen for this, and why were we chosen?
Yeah, I think again, only 3 of our 15 schools were chosen. There are countless, every single test that the state gives, and there are quite a few, get field tested each year. So we are, I think, randomly chosen. I've had experience with field tests going all the way back to my time in New York City, and you're the lucky one this time for this test. It's just, it's 3 this year. That is what is supposed to be. Yes, sir.
Sabrina?
And then when we get the results of the tests, what significant impact does that have on our teaching and our budget?
It shouldn't. I don't believe it will impact our budget at all.
So it's if they see deficits, it's not like, oh, they need help in the ENL department, so we'll give them money to use towards teachers' aides or extra teachers. Does that happen?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that would be an outcome here.
So I'd be open. I believe in data. I believe in testing. I'd 100% be open to it when they're utilizing the data to give the supports that we need to help these children, but they're not doing it. And as we all know that right now, we're going to be struggling with our budget. So I'm a no until they're willing to work with us.
Chris, the question I have is that a lot of times we do these field tests, we don't even get any results back. We don't get any feedback. We don't know what we need to work on. We take the data and you get a thank you. That's it. If you even get that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even know if we get a thank you. And you're right, Mr. Scavo. I don't know that we would even get results.
So there's really no benefit to our kids or to our staff as to what we need to work on and what direction the state is going in. So once again, it's a period, and I know it's only a period, but that's a period of lost education as a result of having to field test kids. And I agree with my colleagues up here is that there's no benefit to our kids. If there was a benefit and it was going to lead to additional state aid or support, I think we would all throw our hats and say absolutely, but to be quite honest with you, I mean, I think they can get data from other districts, and our kids can have a regular normal day. So, I mean, I'm going to just go around. Everybody okay with sending it back or send it back? Matt? Yeah. Alex? Yeah, okay. So, Mike? Thanks, you got it. So, pack them up. Do we
Thank
even
you.
open them?
Can you send it back with a comment?
Sure.
Like
I'm
saying,
sure they'll
if you're going to
seek-
give us support, we're open to this.
I'm
kind
sure
of
at some
testing.
point they
We do
may
have to send
seek
it back
some
with a
comment.
letter, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every
so
year
if
we have to
tell
send it back
them
with a letter.
that,
Mhm.
help us if you find a deficit, then that's fair.
Do they ever field test the regions?
They do. Yes.
All right.
There's different field tests. All right. I'm glad I asked. Right. I had sent it to you and I said, hold on a second. Let me talk to the board. So thank you very much.
Canine
And-
companion?
Oh my gosh, Canine Companion Training. I sent the board an email today. Canine Companions is a program where people bring to work or to their homes a puppy, a dog that they train, and that dog will ultimately graduate from that family and move on and be a service animal for someone in the community. Oftentimes right in our community, and could even be one of our kids or one of our families in the Sachem family. And a speech teacher at Somerset has put together an incredible presentation and emails me every couple of days to remind me to see if we can move forward. And I wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that request. And I know that there are requirements for insurance. We have those already. There are requirements for certification. We have those in place. Mrs. Hines done a lot of work around this with the particular teacher in Somerset. The principal's on board. We would have to send a letter home to the parents, let them know, just much as we did like in over in East and North. It's slightly different. East and North have therapy dogs. This is a dog that's going to be trained to become a type of not therapy dog, but a type of service dog. That's right. So I myself don't have an issue with it. I think it's an amazing program. I know all the districts have it. I've seen, I saw pictures today of the superintendent of Farmingdale has a dog named Daler, which is really, really neat. I'm thinking about maybe I should get my own dog, but I have one at home already that drives me crazy. So I just wanted to put it to the board. Any concerns or issues or?
Any concerns at all from the board?
No, I just think the one caveat should be he has to attend board meetings.
All right. So.
All right.
No,
Mrs. Hines, you'll let her know. Thank you very much. All right, we can go back now. Those were those quick ones, and we will go back to our budget presentation. Mr. Sachs is here tonight. Mr. Sachs, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight.
Of course, and we're going to jump in with a budget, and I'm not going to let anyone sling arrows at Mr. Sachs, right? We are concerned about what you're going to speak with us about.
Yep.
I know that there is a rally this Saturday at the Dennison Building at noon. Looking to get a lot of people there to express our concerns about, I'll show you right now, newspaper headlines, right? Governor's budget pulls back on foundation aid. Allowable tax levy, 2%. Inflation is twice that amount. That has a huge impact on a district this size when we're just going out and buying milk and cookies and gas and everything you can imagine that households buy. We have to buy as well. And yet, we do have a tax cap, and I'm very concerned about. We'll work through this over the course of the next few months or so. But obviously, Ron, you're going to do just an introductory piece here.
Yes, thank you again
Thank
for
you.
having me. This evening, we're going to begin our budget discussions and presentations for the 24-25 school budget. Budget topics that we're going to be discussing tonight will be the budget timeline. We're going to do a quick process overview. Then we're going to get into our revenues, specifically the tax levy, state aid, and other revenues. We're going to talk briefly about fund balance and reserves. Then we're going to get into our non-instructional expenditures. We're going to do a non-instructional overview. We're going to talk briefly about capital projects, and then we'll move on to the next step in the process. Okay. So the process overview begins with us developing the budget calendar. Once the budget calendar is developed, We move into the salary area and benefits related to salary, such as retirement contributions. Oops, hold on one second. Okay. We'll just back up real quick. October, preparation of the budget calendar, which outlines important dates and deadlines. The Board of Education will adopt the budget calendar in October. Come November, central administration, department administrators, and operational supervisors will meet with administration and discuss upcoming budget issues in the budget meetings. In December, the development of the first draft occurs. January through April, continued budget adjustments based on the board's input and data from external sources, such as getting rates from the retirement system, rates from our general liability insurance, BOCES programs, fees for BOCES programs. In April, the final presentation and Board of Education budget adoption. Budget documents will be available in April at all of our buildings and online. In May, we have our budget hearing for community residents, and then we have our budget vote. Okay, let's briefly go through the process overview. Again, we develop the budget calendar, and then we move into the salary area of the budget. We calculate salaries for all of our staff members working under a collective bargaining agreement or individual contract. We ensure the percentage increases to salary schedules and step movement, if applicable, are in agreement with contract provisions and board policy. We then estimate the need for overtime, substitutes, salary adjustments. Salary adjustments would be for credits given to teachers based on actual expenditures from the prior year. Once we have all the salaries in place, we can take a look at our payroll taxes. The FICA and Medicare expenditures are based on estimated salaries. And once we have the salaries again in place, we can take a look at the teacher retirement system liability and the local retirement system liability for all salaries. Once the salaries are complete, we begin to work on the health insurance. We meet with our benefits department to discuss premium increases for active and retired employees based on new health insurance rates. Once that's complete, we move into the material and supply area of the budget. Material and supplies have always been done on a per pupil allocation. Once done, we take a look at our debt service principal and interest expenditures for the upcoming school year. We estimate the issuance of new debt, such as the TAN, which we take, the tax anticipation note, which we take out each year. Capital bonds, tax anticipation notes, new bus purchases. Once complete, we start working on our BOCES area of the budget. We work with central administration, student services, the IT department for the upcoming year for BOCES services. Certain BOCES expenditures are required for all member school districts, such as capital and administrative fees. Then we have our expense-based aids, which we look into. That would be your hardware, your software, library, and textbooks. The district is allocated a maximum reimbursement for these expenditures, and it is based on enrollment. Then we move into all other areas of the budget, conferences, tuition, health services. Any questions so far?
Just Ron, just one comment.
Sure.
When you talk about insurance increase to the district insurance premiums, that's
Yes.
set by the state. We have
That
no
is-
control of that, and nor are we brought to the table as to.
We are not
Yes.
brought to the table, and we do not control that.
Yeah, so they control that
correct.
number, and as well as TRS and ERS.
TRS and ERS, yes, you are correct.
Vinny?
Yeah, just a quick question, Ron, on the debt service.
Yes.
We've got new bus purchases. I know that's an example, but our debt service is really what? The bonds and the TAN?
The bonds, the energy performance contracts, the tan.
Mhm.
Okay.
But not new bus purchases or anything like that?
No,
Just
we're,
we
we're
bought those
not,
outright.
we're not financing the
Right.
buses.
Okay. Just,
Any other questions?
Okay, let's talk about revenues. Revenues in the budget consist of our tax levy, our state aid, reserves and fund balance, other revenues, which is payment in lieu of taxes. We have interest revenue, we have tuition revenue, we have prior year refunds, and we also have a small amount of Medicaid. Okay. Next, we're going to delve into the property tax cap levy, the tax levy cap formula. Okay. As you can see in this chart, there were 13 different steps to attain the tax levy limit. And what it's trying to show here is that the formula is not just taking the current year's tax levy and multiplying it by 2%. Okay.
I'm glad you didn't try to explain that to everybody, Ron.
I was gonna say, that
You would have
was
been
very
here for a long,
convoluted.
that would have been a longer presentation. Yeah.
Okay.
Accountability.
Yeah. The next slide is the same slide, but you'll notice the red circle for the allowable levy growth factor, which is 2%. This is the portion of the formula, 1 out of 13 steps, where the 2% comes into play. Our next slide shows whether or not it is CPI or 2%. If you notice in 2024-25, the inflation factor is 4.12%, but we are capped at 2% because it is the lesser of CPI or 2%. I'm sorry.
And Ron, it was 8% the year prior.
Yes.
And 4% before that. So
Yes. So over the 3 years, the inflation factor increased 16%.
yeah. And we're allowed 2% or less. Yeah.
Yes.
Something's going to have
Over
to
the
give.
last 3 years, it has been 2%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here is the tax levy cap formula that we are at. I'm going to run through it very briefly. Our current tax levy is $207.8 million. We multiply that by something called the tax-based growth factor, 1.0016. A tax-based growth factor is actual brick and mortar construction that occurred within the district over the last year. So what you're seeing here in this figure is there wasn't much brick and mortar construction within the Sachem School District over the prior year. Once we multiply it by the tax-based growth factor, we get a new levy of 208,196. We take our current year pilot receivable amount of 1.3 million and we add it to that. Now we're at 209,500. Once we do that, we then subtract in our capital tax levy. Okay, that the capital tax levy is another long formula that takes our debt service and subtracts out building aid. That's as basic as I can make the formula. Once that is subtracted out, we're back down to $197,772,000. Now, the next step, the levy growth factor, this is where the 2% comes into play. It's CPI or 2%, whichever is lower. We are capped at 2%. So we're going to multiply the 197,772 by 2%. And we come up with $201,727,000. Now we're going to add subtract next year's pilot receivables out, payment in lieu of taxes that are anticipated for next year, which is $1.5 million, and we're back at $200,216,000. Now we're going to look at our exclusions. We are going to add in some of the things that are excluded from the tax levy limit. One being the ERS contribution, it has increased more than 2 percentage points, so we are allowed to add the difference back in. That's $33,000. Then we're going to add our 24-25 capital tax levy back in. Again, that is debt service less building aid for next year. That's $11.6 million, which brings us now to a projected tax levy limit after exclusions of $211,851,459. That's almost a $4 million increase, or 1.92% on this year's tax levy. Now, the thing about the projected tax levy, we have to submit this to the Office of the State Controller on March 1st, but I just want to assure everybody that if things materially change, we can still make adjustments to this. Okay. Does anybody-
In other words, additional state aid or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. The next chart shows a tax levy percentage increase. As you'll see, you might be asking, well, what about this 2%? The tax levy is 1.92% increase. That is partially due to an increase in our building aid for next year and pilots increasing, payment in lieu of taxes. What happens is if we, so to say, get more revenue in a certain area, the tax levy goes down. Okay, our allowable levy goes down. That's a function of the formula itself. That's why we're at 1.92% on the tax levy and not 2%. Anybody have any questions about that chart?
No, Ron, I just want a question. You
Sure.
said on March 1st, we have to send up that calculation.
Yes.
And you said if anything changes, it's not a problem. That's because that calculation is based on events that have already happened. It's only a calculation of what our allowable would be based on the state's formula. So it's irrelevant. You know, like if we get more state aid or more pilots, well, get more pilots, it would have changed it, but more
We could
state aid,
change.
it wouldn't change that. So we're basically just notifying the state what is our actual limit based on the formula.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the next slide will show the tax levy versus the tax rate. The allowable levy growth factor does not equal the tax levy limit. We're talking again about the 2% versus our tax levy limit. The allowable growth factor is one of 13 steps, and to arrive at that, that is your tax levy limit. Two separate things. What I find to be more important, which confuses many people, the tax levy is not the tax rate. The tax levy is the amount of money that the district needs to support the entire budget, okay, or a portion of the budget. It is a portion of the revenue budget. A tax rate is something that is used by an individual homeowner, so to say, to calculate their own property taxes. That is the difference. Now, the tax rate for a homeowner is affected by assessed values. It's affected by partial exemptions and grievances, and it is also affected by equalization rates. Now, an equalization rate is something that apportions the levy across the three towns: the town of Brookhaven, the town of Islip, and the town of Smithtown. The equalization rates are not dictated by Sachem Schools. We get it from the Office of Real Property Tax Services. Any slight changes can change how much each town is levied. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Stephanie?
I know that this has caused a lot. The equalization rates is one of the most confusing things to the
Yes.
taxpayer.
Yes.
When do they come out?
They come out after the budget after the budget passes, unfortunately. They come out sometime in late summer, early
September,
fall.
October.
September, October, yes.
So Ron, just the equalization rates. So people understand, sometimes we go out with a budget, we we go out with a 1.92% budget or a
Mhm.
2% budget, and sometimes people get their tax bill and they see an 8% increase.
Yes.
That's because the town is assessing more taxes, okay, but they added to the school district
That's correct.
tax line. So
That's correct.
we're not going out with any more than 1.92%, but a couple of years ago, like town Islip saw a
Right.
$1,000 increase.
Right. Our tax levy doesn't change. It stays the same. It's the equalization rates that apportion that large levy into 3 towns.
And that's not something we have any control over.
We have no control over that.
Stephanie?
So basically, you're taking the increase our tax levy,
Mm-hmm.
and that big lump sum gets cut into a pie,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Based
And
on
then
equalization rates.
Some people get a bigger slice of pie, like Islip did, and others pay less for pie.
That's absolutely correct.
Because this is still one of the most confusing things, because people don't understand. You guys, I voted for this, and now you're giving me a 10% raise.
Right.
But we just, Islip specifically, because it recently
Well,
happened,
yeah.
got a bigger chunk of the bill.
Yes,
Which
Islip
isn't
got a bigger
fair,
piece of the
but
pie.
That's another conversation.
That's correct.
But the problem is that they added to the school district tax levy.
So
line
we get
of the
yelled
budget.
at.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And again, it's unfortunate that the rates, we don't know the change in the rates until September or October after our budget is complete. Okay.
Attorney?
Just so,
Oh,
so Ron, so it's clear, I know sometimes when we go out with the budget presentation, we say we think the average increase will be X.
Yes.
We're basing that on the current equalization rates.
Current
'Cause
assessments.
we have
and
no
current
other way to know the
equalization
rest.
rates.
Right.
That's
Because we work-
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some other revenue. Payment in lieu of taxes. We are projecting a slight increase on that. Basically what pilot is, it's a property tax incentive through agreements with the industrial development agencies of each of the 3 towns that we're in. And sometimes these pilot agreements can last up to 20 years before it is on the tax roll. Other student fees, that would be testing fees. Then we have day school tuition. We have interest in earnings, which we've raised $100,000. I know a lot of people may have heard in the upcoming year, interest rates may come down a little bit, and we're raising our interest right now because we don't feel it's going to have such a huge effect on us at the time the budget is in place. So we're raising it $100,000. The rental of real property, those are our BOCES rentals. Tecumseh, Sequoia, and a partial wing here at Samoset. Refund of prior expenditures, BOCES. We're decreasing that budget by $500,000. And what that is BOCES cannot have fund balance. So whatever monies BOCES has at the end of the year, the current school year, they will give all their component districts a refund. Okay. They're telling us that they're budgeting very tightly not to expect such a large refund. So we felt we needed to reduce that revenue. Refund of prior year's expenditures, there's a $50,000 increase there. The premium on obligations, this has to do with the tax anticipation note. Again, our TAN, we went from 50 million to 65 million, and interest rates were rising at the time. But you have to remember, we get these banks, they pay us a premium for us for borrowing the money. Now the premium usually is, about $500,000. So that makes up for any interest we could lose. Then we have a small portion of Medicaid. And then we have some other miscellaneous revenue, such as gifts, unclassified revenues, BOCES performing arts revenue. That really covers other revenue. Does anybody have any questions about other revenue?
Questions from the board? No?
Okay, my favorite. Fund balance and reserves. We'll briefly go through this. As you can see, for the 23-24 school year, the current school year, we used our ERS reserve, utilizing $631,000 from ERS. And we also appropriated $9.2 million from appropriated fund balance. Now, looking at each of these reserves, you could see between 6/30/23 and 6/30/24, you could see that $631,000 coming out of the ERS reserve. We did not touch the teacher's retirement reserve. We did not touch the workers' comp reserve or the EBLAR reserve. We come to the capital reserve. One thing you should know about the capital reserve, we need voter authorization to use that money. The assigned fund balance, the assigned appropriated fund balance, excuse me, of 9.2, we are going to fill that hole. That is already in the upcoming year's budget as a revenue, but I am analyzing this year's budget, and I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to get to $9.2 million.
Yeah, Ron, and I just want to focus on that for a second.
Sure.
So we borrowed essentially from ourselves, from our reserves last year, a little slightly over $9 million.
Correct.
And are going to put it all back. So if in fact this year we are looking at a similar circumstance where we have to use our reserves, and that's what reserves are for, right?
That's
They're
right.
there for, you have to obviously be careful with them. We
Yes.
want to be cognizant of our history and make sure that we're going to be moving forward very careful with reserves. But there are $60 million in reserves
Correct.
there.
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm. And again, the business office, we analyze the budget month to month, looking for fund balance, projecting fund balance, and we'll keep the board updated as we move along throughout the year.
Yes, that's something that we can put in our Friday packets, and we do, right? The encumbrance report.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Sure. Okay. Then we have assigned unappropriated of $755,000. That is non-spendable. What that is, those are last year's purchase orders that were rolled into this year because the invoices have not come in yet. Obviously, by now, most of that has been paid, though. Then we have a small $250,000 non-spendable prepaid expense. That's pretty much for workers' compensation. And then we have our unassigned fund balance. 6/30/23, we're at $14.5 million. At 6/30/24, we're anticipating just under $12 million. Now, what happened there was we charged a few items directly to fund balance for legal settlements, for the increase in transportation, for employee contracts. So we hit fund balance directly, okay, and we increased our budget and we paid the bills. That's what's going on. Without the capital reserve, spendable reserves that we do have comes to $31.9 million. But overall, between spendable, non-spendable, unassigned fund balance, we have $60,770,000. Excuse me. Any questions on fund balance and reserves? Okay, state aid. The governor came out with our state aid proposal. We're going from $136,776,000 to $138,535,000. That's a $1.758 million increase. Let's briefly go through the categories of state aid with any major fluctuations. You'll see our foundation aid has dropped approximately $875,000. This is because of something called an instituted transition adjustment. Okay, this is something the governor came up with. Many districts got hit with this, some for quite a large sum of money too. What the governor also did was, which is not in current law, she changed for foundation aid the CPI factor used. Instead of using that 4.1, 4.2 CPI change in CPI, the governor used a 10-year average, eliminating the high and low years for a factor of only 2.4% instead of 4.1%. It should also be noted that in the governor's proposal, there is no save harmless. We are not getting what we got last year, okay? And that would be approximately $2.8 million. It would be more if it's restored. You'd restore the 875,000 and you would restore the 2.8 million. So it'd be $3.6 million. Okay, BOCES aid. BOCES is somewhat flat, $173,000 increase. Our public high cost aid, $1.15 million. That's in essence for our special needs students. We get a certain amount of aid on them over a certain threshold. Private excess cost aid. That would be also for our special needs students that attend private schools. That's going down by about $150,000. We have some of our hardware and technology, minor changes, $7,500. Software, library, and textbook, $751 downward change. Transportation, including summer, $863,000 increase. Okay. And again, building aid, as we produce our final cost reports on projects being finished up, we're going to start getting more aid. So we're getting another $603,000 in building aid. High tax aid has stayed flat, and other aids, small portion, $599,400. That's staying flat also. For a total of $138,535, $106. It's a 1.27% increase. Any questions on state aid?
Ron, you were just talking about that factor where they changed the formula for
Yes.
foundation aid. So they created a 2% cap, and then they took the average over 10 years, eliminating the highs,
high and low.
lows. So it couldn't be more than 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got shortchanged 2%, and this is what the governor did.
And it is not in current law for her to be doing that.
Yeah. And that 2% was a difference of, is it $2.8 million?
Well, that's the safe
That's the
harmless.
same. So what's the 2%
The
represent in
2%,
dollar
the
amount?
2% is factored in to that $875,000 loss also.
Okay.
Okay. So we then have our proposed revenue budget. Okay. The property tax levy again going up 1.92%. Our state aid going up 1.29%. Our other revenues basically staying flat, but slightly going down, 0.14%. And I just want to hit it home that we've already included the $9.2 million of appropriated fund balance. Okay, for a proposed revenue budget for 24-25 of $368,963,741. Okay. Now we're going to get into our non-instructional expenditures. We're going to start with general support, which includes the Board of Education, the superintendent, the business office, personnel, and facilities. Then we're going to move into transportation. We're going to move into employee benefits, which is the retirement system, and our various insurances, health, dental, life, disability, workers' comp. We'll briefly touch on debt service, and then we'll take a look at our interfund transfers, transfer to the special aid fund, transfer to capital, and food service. Under general support, you have the Board of Education, which really consists of board association memberships and training, but you'll see a $42,000 decrease between the 23-24 budget and 24-25. That's because this year we bought those tablets for our polling workers. Next year we don't have to buy them, so the budget went down. The district clerk is contractual and a little supplies is a $1,600 increase. District meeting, that's for our annual budget vote and trustee election. That's pretty much flat. Chief school administrator went up $9,400. The chief school administrators consist of admin, clerical, association memberships, conferences, and supplies. The business office went up $40,000. Again, that's admin, clerical, salaries, vendor contracts, some BOCES, and supplies. The $40,000 increase is basically contractual salaries there. Auditing services, we have a slight decrease of $12.6 $1,000. That's our internal auditing, our claims auditing, and our external auditing, our financial statements. The district treasurer is remaining flat. That's our bond counsel and fiscal advisors. The purchasing department, slight increase. That's contractual salaries, basically. They have one BOCES line for bidding, cooperative bidding. Our personnel office is going up $80,000, or that is a function of contractual salaries. And we also had to budget for some possible 913 evaluations. Communications, $12,000 increase. Postage, public relations, web hosting, that's syntax. Okay, now we move on, continue with general support, facilities and maintenance. We have a $497,000, almost $498,000 increase. That is contractual salaries that were settled this year. Grounds, a $75,000 increase. Again, those are contractual salary increases. Keep in mind, the contracts were settled this year. Safety compliance went up almost $51,000. That's asbestos for asbestos abatement. Security went up $661,000, almost $662,000. That's for contractual salaries settled during this year. Then we move into yes. Central data processing went down $78,000. That is because we took our shared data expert from BOCES out of the BOCES budget, and we actually hired that position, and that position is now within our budget. Then we come to our district-wide insurance of $225,000 increase. That is NYSER. I had a conversation with NYSER last week. They advised us that rates could be going up 15 to 17%. And on top of that, we just had an appraisal done within the district last year. And because our appraised value went up approximately 25%, our appraised value of material things went up about 25%, they recommended that I budget about 20% increase for NYSER.
Ron, is there an option other than NYSER?
Other than NYSER, we have had, I can tell you, we have had in the past, other insurance companies approach us, but once they find out the magnitude of Sachem, they backed away.
Okay, I mean 20% increase.
Yeah.
Wait, so they approached us and then
We
without-
approached
okay.
them.
All right. Just
Yes.
but they were approaching us and then back.
No. Judgment and claims, $10,000, stayed the same. BOCES administration, this is capital fees, administrative expenses, $61,000. This is basically just right now a 3% estimated increase. Okay. Let's delve into transportation. District transportation. This is our own Sachem transportation. This consists of contractual salaries, outside repairs, vehicle insurance, and equipment and supplies for our buses. We have a $441,000 increase, And again, this is primarily related to contractual salaries that were settled this year. And there is also an amount within that $441,000, which we never had to budget for Orange County Transit for contractual drug testing and driver testing for Orange County. Okay. Then we have our transportation garage, that $1,800 increase. That's one contractual salary, utilities, equipment, and supplies. Then we move on to our contract transportation. Here we have an 11% increase, or $2,378,000. This is primarily due to our small van service. Okay. We are in continued negotiations with our vendors at this point. Right now, We Transport is using 66 of our routes, and Orange County is using 26 of our routes.
Ron, I understand we are still working with to recoup monies from
Yes,
our
we are.
debacle.
Yes.
Quite honestly, earlier this year.
Yes. According to the RFP, for what has been happening since day one of this year, we are entitled to fine We Transport. And I believe they are still
Yes, we are still calculating.
Are still calculating that.
Okay, but so that could we see an adjustment in revenue or money spent this year? Would it go to fund balance at the end of this year?
If we collected these fines from We Transport, it would be considered a revenue, and it would probably go into some sort of miscellaneous category.
For this year or for next year?
For this year.
For this year, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Could you just explain that thing that you said about the drug testing?
Yes. Randomly, drivers have to be drug and alcohol tested. So within the agreement that we have with Orange County, we are going to pay for the drivers we use to be drug tested or drug and alcohol tested. That's what it really comes down to.
It's not part of the employer. Like Orange County's their employer. We're not. So
Orange
it's not
County.
part of what Orange County would do.
You would think, but we negotiated this with Orange County. We took it on. It is a negotiated item.
Okay.
And we do plan on negotiating it out.
Okay. But
Yeah.
we were in the moment. We had to do what we
In
had
the
to
moment,
do. Okay.
Meredith, you just took the words out of my mouth. Thank you.
Well, to that
And-
point, we had to do that because of the We Transport debacle. So we should be going after We Transport to recoup those dollars, theoretically. So.
Okay, then we have our BOCES transportation at $240,000, which is really just remaining flat. Now we move into employee benefits. We have the ERS retirement system. The employer contribution projected increase is going from 13.1% to 15.2% of ERS salaries. That's approximately $1 million. Now, what's happening here, why it's showing almost a 27% increase, is because we're getting a double bump here. We settled the SSSUs, thank you. SSSU contracts. Okay. So when we budgeted last year at this time for this year, it wasn't included in the budget. Therefore, it wasn't included in the ERS. Now it's included in the ERS for this year and what they're going to be getting for next year. That's why there's such a difference.
And Ron, who sets that?
The state. The rates?
Yeah.
The state.
Why did you go up from 13.1 to 15.2?
In the
It's
state.
a rhetorical question, kind of like the state sets
The
that.
state sets
Yeah.
that.
You didn't do that.
No, I didn't do that.
No. Okay.
And there's no like appealing or fighting or going after the state to get any of that
No.
lessened or lowered.
I wish there were.
Okay. So they just keep taking our money.
Yep. Next, we have the teachers' retirement system. Again, the teachers' retirement system is going from a 9.76% contribution rate to a 10.02% contribution rate on all TRS salaries. And again, this is beyond our control. The state sets these rates, and it is a $1.1 million increase. Based on all of our salaries for next year, we have our Social Security benefits, our FICA payroll taxes. That's an increase of $1.165 million. Workers' comp, we increased $200,000. That's strictly a function and based on claims that we're seeing coming in this year. Life insurance is flat at $40,000. Unemployment benefits is flat at $20,000. Disability is flat at $290,000. Now we come into our medical and dental benefits. You see a 13% increase. That's $7.375 million. For medical insurance alone, we're going from $44 million to $49.3 million. That's a $4.3 million increase in health insurance alone. Again, the rates that we get again from the state, we have no control over. What we did do, and we do this every year, we have to budget for the second half of next year. We budget 10%, and we felt that was a fair estimate, considering Empire went up, I believe, approximately 14% this year. Okay, within that increase is also our Medicare Part B reimbursement for our retirees. That is a $2.2 million increase. What's happening there is this year, when we budgeted last year for this year, we're kind of working in two different years. When we budgeted last year for this year, we cut the expenditure line for the Medicare Part B reimbursement for retirees in half because we had on the books an accrued liability for half of it. So we're using that accrued liability plus the budget to pay the bill. We have to make it up next year. That's why that you see, instead of $1 million increase, you see a $2.2 million increase. Then we have the health waiver, which is included in that $7.3 million. There's a $650,000 increase in the health waiver. Okay, other benefits, you'll see a decrease of a little over $500,000. If we have to, we have $3 million budgeted. If we have to, we can use our ebb law reserve to make up any difference if we run short in that code. Any question on benefits?
I have a question on us being self-insured for workers' comp.
Yes.
When is the last time that we kind of audited that to see if us still being self-insured is worth it versus going to an outside company?
I can tell you in 21 years, we have not. We've been self-insured probably for 30 years, but that is something that we could certainly take under.
Yeah, it's just that like I deal with workers' comp a lot, not obviously on this scale.
Mm-hmm.
And one year I was able to get us audited from the business I work for.
Mm-hmm.
We actually got a refund because we were paying too much.
Mm-hmm.
And for a small business that's on no scale like this, we got like $15,000 a year for 4 years back.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like if that's something that we haven't really looked at, that's a lot of money for workers' comp.
Yeah.
So maybe we can look at that.
So if I can just piggyback on that, while we may not have necessarily looked at the self-insured versus another option, we do use a third-party TPA, and over the course of my time being in personnel since 2010, we've gone through 3 to 4 different carriers for TPAs, the current of which has been in place for about 3 years, and those have included vetting financials to look at ways in which we can save and methods through which we can address some of the financials for that.
Yeah, Ron,
Yeah.
I always love these 9,000 codes. I always find the most interesting because
Okay.
they're obviously the ones we have the littlest control over.
Correct.
So I want people to realize that. So in these codes alone, we're talking about a $10 million increase.
Correct.
Yet the state has handcuffed us with $1.7 million increase in state aid and given us only the ability to raise $3.9 million. We're staying within the tax cap.
Correct.
So we are $6 million in the hole just based on the bills we're going to receive, not counting any other increases.
Correct.
Just in the 9,000.
Just
Yes.
that's right.
That's
So
correct.
I hope the community who's watching understands that this is the state that we're in.
Yes.
Right? And it's things we have no control over. And the only way to control these things are things we don't want to think about right now.
Any questions?
Okay, let's move into debt service. Serial bonds, these are our construction bonds, going up, between principal and interest, going up $78,000. Then we have our tax anticipation note, which is going up $755,000 or 50%. The reason that it's going up to that capacity is because of current interest rates on how high they are. And we're doing a higher financing. We've financed $50 million. Now we're financing $65 million. Now you have to remember with the tax anticipation note, we also have the premium on the other side, which we're getting $500,000 in miscellaneous income. You have to also remember even though interest rates are high and we're paying a higher rate of interest, the money that we're putting in the bank, we're also getting a higher rate of interest on. So, one for one, it kind of works out. Then we have our energy performance contracts. That's the dollar is a rounding issue. It's staying flat. Any questions on debt service?
Yeah, Ron,
Sure.
just a question. How
Sure.
many more years do we have on the construction bonds? Do you know?
Can I get back to you on that one?
Yeah.
I
And then
have to look at the charts.
That's fine. And then a follow-up to that is, theoretically, if we pay these every year, our principal should be going down. Are we on a fluctuating interest rate? Why are we $78,000 more?
No, we are locked in.
Right.
Yes, we are locked in. So the serial bonds, I will look into the $78,000 and see
Okay.
why that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you.
We could even discuss it tomorrow evening. Okay. Interfund transfers. We have our transfer to special aid fund going up $33,000. This is primarily for SESI and the UPK program. And I'll just get into it a little bit. $858,000 is for the SESI program, which is 20% of the costs of the program, which we're required to fund. And $140,000 of it is for UPK. The reason why we're budgeting $140,000 for UPK is because we are required to pay the difference between what the state gives us and what Scope is charging us. The state gives us $5,400 per child, but Scope is charging us $5,800 per child. So we have to budget that extra $400 per child. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
And we don't charge the families for that difference.
No,
We're not allowed to.
not allowed to.
So again, the state gives us less and wants us to do more with it.
I don't the state's not giving us less. They're putting a restriction on what we're allowed to allocate per child.
Right.
So in different geographical areas, upstate New York might be $5,400 might be fine per child, but because we're in a high tax area, the cheapest we can get is Scope.
Scope
was $5,800. So if they would just change that rule, okay, we would be fine. There wouldn't be a $400,000, charge to the district because they give us how much money are they giving us now for UPK? Is it 1.8?
Three and change.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of them giving us the money.
There was
It's a matter
I'm
of
sorry,
them allocating enough.
There was
money
no
for-
increase from the state on that.
No. Then we have our transfer to capital fund. These are for our 24, 25 projected capital projects to maintain our buildings. going from $8.8 million to $9 million. It's a $200,000 increase. Okay, let's briefly talk about our 24-25 capital recommendations. We are recommending new interior hallway doors at the 5 secondary schools for $5.2 million.
Ron, that's a continuation of a project we began this year at
Yes.
the elementary level.
Correct. Partial replacement of classroom tiles district-wide, $800,000. The Hiawatha Gang bathroom renovation, 2 sets of bathrooms.
Is anyone here from Hiawatha? It sounds like the Hiawatha Gang is holding us up or something like that. That just means
There's more than one, a gang bathroom. Yes.
it's like a boys' bathroom or the adult bathroom.
Yeah.
That's an interesting name.
We have Sagamore and Samoset partial roof replacements for $2 million. We're just continuing again some of the work that we've already started, especially here at Samoset. We've been slowly but surely replacing all portions of the roof.
Seems, Ron, by the time we get to the end, we're going to be starting on the part that we started again. Our own guys did the roof over here.
Yes, they did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They had like 10 guys standing on the roof. They don't put, well, I shouldn't even talk about it. But they did an incredible job on that.
Yes.
Hey, Ron, can I just ask a question about that? For the capital recommendations, when you talk about the capital line,
Yes.
for the viewers, is that capital line something that the district can access through any other piece to move monies around, or is it exclusively for those projects?
It's exclusively for those projects. And all this work can be completed within the budgetary appropriation from the transfer to capital. Okay, non-instructional summary. Again, we've basically gone over all of this at one point or of another. General support, which is the Board of Ed, the superintendent, the business office, personnel. It's going up 1.93% or $93,000. Continuing with general support, facilities, security, data processing, and our general liability insurance is going up $1.5 million or 5.8%. Transportation is going up $2.8 million or 11.77%. Employee benefits is going up $10.4 million or 11.3%. Debt service is going up $833,000, which is 5.29%, and interfund transfers is going up $237,000, which is 2.43%, for a total of $15.9 million or 9.26%. Just want to next briefly talk about our capital reserve utilization. The district is currently installing new baseball or multi-purpose fields right now at the high schools, utilizing funds from the capital reserve. We're proposing the following projects for the remaining capital reserve fund. The current balance is $6.68 million, with potential projects of the North softball field for $2 million and the East softball field for almost $2.8 million. Okay, that would be a total of $4.821 million, with the remaining capital reserve balance of $1.859 million. Just to give everybody a quick recap on the capital reserve. The capital reserve, give me 1 second. Look at my notes.
Ron, obviously that's a conversation the board will have, and we'll be talking about the utilization of those funds. But much like Kristen's question before, this is money that has to be used on capital, and the community would vote on it.
That's correct. Okay. Okay, so if we just slip to the next page, the 24-25 proposed budget. The 24-25 final proposed budget is still to be determined. The current draft budget is approximately $390,500,000, which represents a $26.8 million increase or 7.36% budget to budget increase. Revenues are projected at $368.9 million, which leaves a budget gap of $21.6 million. This evening, we've discussed the non-instructional area of the budget. That's $188 million, or 48% of the draft budget.
So Ron, we're obviously going to go back and sharpen our pencils and take a look at this part of those areas where we have some control. Those areas we don't. That's where we talk with our legislators and our community, our leaders in terms of what it is that we're expecting, need, want for our budget here. I look at that 21.6 and I'm, completely alarmed. And we talk about incredible programs we just talked about tonight, an incredible number of courses we do, and all those incredible things we built over the past few years, many years in this district. And to see it in jeopardy by powers that be that we don't have much control over is really, really, really upsetting to me.
Yes.
And I know to everybody else here too. So we saw a little passion out of Ms. Pickowitz before when we talked about field tests and some, being bothered around that. My goodness, I think you're going to see a lot of passion out of this board and this community when we talk about some of these things, next steps. I know I've had conversations with some of our legislators as well already, and they are looking to put back that save harmless, that approximate 3%, and looking for another 3% on top of that. We would applaud those that are thinking that way and try to get behind them and support them to make sure that we would see something like that, which would cut a great deal into some of those things that we're in a deficit on right now.
Quick question. If they were to restore the hold harmless at plus a 3% increase, how would that affect our revenue in dollars?
Still, you're talking about if they did restore the hold harmless.
Yes,
that would be $3.6 million, plus another 3% is about $7 million. 7 million total.
So still 14 down, despite the fact that, again, as I said, we have a lot of work to do between now and then, and utilization of reserves and things such as that, which would help to bring down that number. We're going to work with our partners in our schools in terms of our units and make some proposals to the board and ultimately this community in terms of trying to get this to a balanced budget.
Questions from the board? Yeah, Sabrina?
I mean, I know we're advocating a lot for the UPK piece. I mean, could we push for that too? How much would that, if we were able to use the full the 5,800, right? Because that's what BOCES charge. If we're able to
That's
use
what
that,
Scope would be charging.
right? If we advocated for that too, how much would that save us?
Yeah, what's the additional cost we're paying to make up the difference, Ron? Was it 700? What did you just had it?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Okay.
Not a lot.
Yeah, no. Without a doubt. You just had it on the difference.
140,000.
All right, that's a chunk of money that would go somewhere else. So
Just one thing I just wanted to bring up. Obviously, once again, the state is dealing us a really difficult hand to work with in order to maintain, all of the great things that happen in this district or that happen in this district. Obviously, we have a $21 million deficit, and part of the problem is how they changed the foundation aid and how they eliminated the hold harmless. I've been asked by some of our assemblymen and senators. There is a rally to restore school aid this Saturday, February 10th at 12 p.m. at the Dennison Building in Hauppauge. Certainly, they're encouraging as many community members to attend that event so that we could show the the state how disappointed and upset we are with what not just Sachem, but there are some school districts that took a 25% cut in aid, 15% cut in aid, and it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So certainly they asked me to to invite extend the invite to all of the Sachem residents that want to go to it. Certainly they're going to be speaking. I think there's going to be some press coverage possibly. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So,
if I could add one more piece, and I'm sorry, Meredith, go ahead. Did you want to speak? Just in terms of during COVID, we had a great many difficulties, as did everyone else, as did the nation, quite honestly. But not only did we get through it, I think we did an outstanding job here in the Sachem family. But at the end of the day, we were able to come through and continue Sachem's path upward and march upward. But some of those issues with mental health for our students in a national mental health crisis and issues around learning loss, the state and federal government, quite honestly, pitched in and provided grants so that we could hire additional staff to support our youngsters, support our staff to help with that learning loss. And those things are still here. Those mental health issues are here. They may even be worse. Learning loss is something that we've been working on. We're doing a great job with our students, but it is still here. And we warned everyone about this fiscal cliff that was looming, that when these grants go away, these problems have not gone away. And to just put our head in the sand and think that, well, we're just, we don't have that anymore, so we're just going to rip that away from our kids is really disappointing, to say the least, and something we're going to have to continue to work on behalf of our students.
The budget presentation, Chris, what happens next? We'll be going through different parts
Yes.
of our budget codes.
Ron, you wanted to finish that up?
Sure. So our next step on February 28th, budget development meeting number 2, student activities and support services. March 1st, again, we have to file our tax levy limit calculation. And just keep in mind, any material changes, we can go back in and make changes as necessary. March 13th, budget development meeting number 3 is curriculum and instruction. March 20th, 2024, budget update, no formal presentation. April 3rd, budget development meeting number 4, proposed budget update. April 16th, budget adoption. May 8th is the budget hearing. May 21st, budget vote and district election. And again, we will continue to revise estimates as updated information is received. Thank you.
Questions from the board? Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Ron, you did an outstanding job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, that includes the superintendent's report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Student board member report, guys, any updates?
First, I'm just going to acknowledge some of the sports we got going on here. Wishing best of luck to bowling next week. We have track next week, swim next week, and most of all, this weekend, we have both cheer teams going down to Florida. Actually, I think they both flew down today for nationals in Disney. Hockey, there's the senior night going on, actually, in probably, we got a time check right now, probably about midnight. All right, that's about a start. Things going on at North, where Dom's going to get into it a lot more. At East, they have definitely a lot more than we do. But we're going to be working on our March Madness thing. That'll actually be in March this year compared to last year when it was in April. That was a whole mess. Oh, yeah, we just posted a Google form about that. Registrations until next Friday. I want to highlight this Friday is PS I Love You Day. And I think it's really important to obviously highlight mental health awareness. It's really, I still don't think it's talked about enough today in society. And I'm just, if you can, just wear Purple Friday. That's my thing.
Great job, Dylan. Thank you. Tom?
To piggyback on that, we also have wrestling for both East and North counties are this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at Suffolk. And then girls basketball is in the playoffs. And then I just have a couple updates on our March Madness event. We are currently looking into different charities for our money to go to. Some of them being LA 12, Lighthouse Mission, Long Island Cares, and then Impact Teen Drivers. And then I did mention last time we were talking about bringing the cops up to play us. So
You're calling the cops? We have gangs in Hiawassee.
So that does seem to be set in motion to have a 5v5 with the cops.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if I might, these two gentlemen are really wanting to go to the hockey game, so could we excuse them? It's senior night, Sachem hockey. Go Sachem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time
I
does
guess
that game start?
Smithtown. Start at 9.
9 o'clock?
Meredith's making me seem like a poor board member here. I did not ask her to say that, so
You're
just clarifying.
You're doing the right thing. You're going to the sporting.
I'm going with
event.
you, Dylan, so don't worry about it.
Listen, on Saturday I'll be at the wrestling counties instead of going to that rally that I want to go to.
There's one more thing, Ms. Trombetta. I want you to announce this one.
So we're very proud and excited. We just got news this past week that the street across from the entrance of Sachem North is going to be named in Desi's honor. It's going to be Midland and Smith. So it'll be a daily reminder for everyone what he meant to us and how important he was to everyone, and his message. We get to and become, continue to live our life that way. And, talking about the budget right now, Desi's response to this would be, we're going to get through it together. We are Sachem and we get to do it together. So we're very excited for that to happen, and we will share the details of when the naming will occur. And hopefully we have a lot of support that day to show Desi how important he was and how much he's missed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, if you guys
Run
head
out
to the
while you
game,
can.
thank you
Have
for
a
the
great
update.
evening. Who's happier, you or your mom right now? You get to leave. Well, it's so exciting to be here. Good luck.
Okay. Item D is the approval of the minutes for the January 24th meeting. And a motion, please. Stephanie, second. Sabrina, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. We have one visitor, Helena Conforti. Is she said? That's right. Apologies for the delay. It was a long presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight and express my concerns, as I am sure the concerns of many other parents here in the district. As a parent of a special education student here at Sachem, my purpose tonight is to address the very concerning shortage of aides within the district and ask the Board of Education what is being done about it. Unfortunately, I cannot begin to count the amount of consecutive days, so meaning days not due to illness, but rather days where the district had no one staffed to fill the position, and my child has gone without an aide, as legally contracted in their IEP. I also can't begin to count over the last 3 years the numerous phone calls to the Student Services Office I have made to rectify the situation. Each time being told, we are aware, Dr. Pelletieri is aware, and we are hiring. Being aware and doing what needs to be done to fill and keep these positions filled are two totally different things. I am here to ask the board what in fact is being done to fill and keep these positions filled. Sorry. Clearly, what Sachem is offering isn't enough to secure aides to fill these positions. Positions the school is legally contracted by our children's IEPs to be filled. Positions that students started the year off in September without being filled, despite having 10 plus weeks to fill them. Who is to be held accountable for violating a legally binding IEP? At the building level, I am told there is nothing they can do. They don't have enough staff to go around. As I said, the Student Services Office tells me they are hiring. It's unfair that children who need the extra support are left to suffer or left to navigate on their own. Yet, when an issue arises, they are held accountable when they are not receiving the support they are supposed to and legally entitled to. Not only are these students left to navigate without the support, but staffing falls short of following certain protocols set up by behaviorists who are paid by the district and insured taxpayers to make sure that our children can be the best they can to their abilities and entitled to the same education as general education students. Why? Because of lack of communication, lack of support, lack of consistency, and just plain out complacency. Because the child is doing well, do we let down our guard? Do we make decisions lackadaisically without a CSE to discuss in detail the plan to continue to support said child? Behavior intervention plans are detailed with specifics if such should arise. we do this. And this did not happen because there was no one to follow the plan. In this case, the support structure and consistency plan wasn't handed over clearly and concisely. Don't our children deserve better? I am here tonight to say they do. As a parent, it's my job to advocate for my child. So again, I stand here before you and ask the Board of Education what is being done to secure aids for our children, to make sure they have a vested interest in their job, as this isn't a mindless job. It's one that takes a big heart to work with special children who need that extra guidance, consistency, normalcy, and support. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Mr. Capote, we don't normally respond because it's public comment, but we're going to you. You're the only one here tonight. You waited 2 hours, and you deserve a response. So Dr. Pelletier is going to provide.
Ms. Conforti, thank you very much. And I want to assure you, it's not from a lackadaisical approach or complacency. I speak to our principals every day. That person who looks a little bit tired over there in the end, well, she's embarrassed now. Maybe I shouldn't. I apologize. I'll take that back. The wonderful lady down at the end there, but Ms. Capolitan is literally daily interviewing people. Today we had interviews again. We are trying like heck. You said an important thing. It takes a big heart to do this right, and we want to get the right people in. But at the salaries, you hear tonight about the costs that the districts are facing and the deficits, and trying to find that fine balance between hiring people and having a competitive rate. This is an issue that is happening as I speak to my peer superintendents across Nassau, some of the island. I think even, I dare say, the state. None of that matters because you want someone for your child, and I get it. So I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about all those, difficult things. We will work hard to make sure that we fill that. We want to get the right people who have that big heart, who belong in this culture of care. We want to make sure that we do that. And it is far from, we just throw our hands up or not worry about it. We are working very hard at this, and we'll continue to do so. But I appreciate you coming out tonight and bringing it to the fore. You're welcome. I'm sorry it took so long to get to you.
Okay, brings us to item 3, business items. We have a consent agenda A through C. A motion, please. Ms. Cerny, second. Matthew Bauman. Questions or discussions? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 4, we have consent agenda A through L for personnel. Any motion, please? Okay, Matthew Bauman, second. Michael Cerny. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 5 is on page 8. We have a consent agenda A through E for personnel. Any motion, please? Okay, Mike Cerny, second by Vinnie Reynolds. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 6, we have consent agenda A through G for contracts. A motion, please. Vinnie Reynolds, second. And Sabrina Pickwitz. Questions or discussions?
I have to abstain.
All right. All in favor? Opposed? 1 abstention. Item 7, action items. Approval of proposed 2024-25 calendar. If they're ready to take a look at it, we need a motion to approve it. Vinnie Reynolds, second by Sabrina Pickwitz. Questions or discussions? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Chris, just one thing I probably should consider. We aligned it to the East Suffolk BOCES, so there's no gap of service for our kids, special needs kids.
Great point, Mr. Scavo. There is a 2-week window next year around Christmas break that that people are very pleased with, most people, and we aligned with BOCES on that. Yeah. There will be some areas where they put in additional holidays that we might not have, so there will still be that piece, but that particular gap, that particular 2-week, I and many other districts around us align directly with BOCES.
And that goes for the April break as well as
Yes.
Mr. Scavo, just before we move on, if we could. Sorry. We are going to add one item into this area. Yeah.
Into the
action items.
Okay. right, so I guess we'll call it 7B. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, the approval of collective bargaining
Yeah.
agreement.
So something came to us very, very late. It was signed late this afternoon for a collective bargaining agreement with the SCTA. Is that correct? With regards to a increase in stipend for toileting for our aides. Okay, it's something that we're doing to try and attract more aides to our district to take on that role and that responsibility. So I need a motion to approve it. Vinnie Reynolds, second. Alex Picarillo. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8 is donations from Hiawatha Elementary School. A motion, please. Okay, Sabrina, second by Mike Isernia. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 9, Committee on Special Education, consent agenda A through B. I need a motion. Mike Isernia, second by Alex Picarillo. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 10 is the approval of the annual budget vote and election. We don't have to do these, no vote required, right?
Correct.
If it's item C too, no vote?
No, we would need to approve C, D, and E.
All right, so this would be, I need a motion to approve C, nominating positions, D, rental voting machines, and E, notice of annual budget vote and election of trustees. Any motion, please? Stephanie, second by Alex Picarillo. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 11 is monthly reports. Any updates from our, good, Stephanie?
The legislative committee is moving forward. We had a meeting the other night. As of the other night, there were almost five legislators, electeds, coming. But I'm not, Dana was still reaching out to a few. So we're hoping there'll be a lot more. It's February 29th at 7:30.
Right in this room?
Yeah,
And we're broadcasting it also.
yes. So that's our update.
And we just want to encourage as much attendance as possible. If you have questions, they can be emailed. There'll be a flyer going out. And we do encourage you to come and ask your questions in person. It's great FaceTime with the people who you elect. It's always good to know who you're electing and why.
Yes, our apologies. Originally, I think we were supposed to meet for exec session prior. So we did move and we are in the midst of rescheduling and just kind of reorganizing our committees.
Yeah, tomorrow night we've got the budget advisory meeting, so I get to do that presentation all over again with Ron. So looking forward to that. Yeah, well, he's got to get me an answer. And then we'll schedule a series of meetings the night after the budget presentations, leading up to the budget advisory committee coming here and giving their recommendation later on in the spring.
Thanks for sitting there, Pat. Make us feel better.
Update us on the battery plant litigation.
Sure. Yesterday I signed an affidavit, 26 something points on there, right, Mr. Venator, and maybe more in terms of our moving forward with litigation. You're the expert in this area. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, so I'm happy to announce that this afternoon, we filed with the court in Albany County. We electronically filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Sachem Central School District. We filed it against Public Service Commission of the State of New York, the New York State Department of Public Service, and the Holtzville Energy Storage Facility, challenging the decision of the New York State Public Service Commission authorizing this project to move forward. In our papers, which we will provide to the superintendent, our full papers, which consist of petition, affidavits, and a multitude of exhibits. You know, we point to a lot of factors that we think are significant, not the least of which is that there are 4 schools, Sachem schools, that are within 1 mile of this proposed project. Within a half a mile of the proposed project, you have a large chemical storage facility. We have a large petroleum storage and distribution center. Both of those entities are located less than a half a mile from this proposed facility. We note in our papers that over the last year, there have been 3 significant fires in the state of New York involving these battery storage facilities. And what's significant is that the proposed facility here is 10 times larger than any one of those other 3 facilities that they had significant issues when there were fires. We point out in our papers that the proposed site, in addition to being so close to our schools, these other entities that are troubling, we have a public library, we have a theater, we have homes, we have houses of worship, we have our Holtzville Main Street. So there are a lot of concerns about the location. We have concerns about standards, and there was an article in Newsday today about a commission looking at the standards for battery safety. So there's a lot of issues surrounding this, and we believe that for this Public Service Commission to move forward with this project at this site, with this magnitude and that location, that it's arbitrary and capricious. And on behalf of the district, we filed that lawsuit, and we'll move forward with serving the parties, and we'll keep you apprised of what happens.
Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, Chris, could you just also let us know what was the relief we prayed for? We asked for
We prayed for to have a declaratory judgment that the order was arbitrary and capricious, and we prayed for preliminary injunctive relief to permanently enjoin a project being installed at that particular location.
Chris, anything in the when you presented the data pertaining to the fact that our fire departments are not equipped in the event of an emergency, in the event of a fire, they don't have the equipment at this particular time to be able to, to put it out?
Well, indirectly, we talk about the fact that the order from the Public Service Commission was conditioned upon a whole bunch of things taking place. One of the conditions had to do with, fire safety and training of our, local firemen, et cetera. And all these things haven't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conditions that are troubling. So we indirectly, yes, we do point to some of those items.
Mike, over here. Any questions on this side? Okay, Stephanie?
One of the issues was safe evacuation for the schools. And I'm assuming, we don't speak for the surrounding community per se, but was that part of the contingency, was having a safe evacuation plan in case of fire or plume?
I don't think that was one of the conditions in the requirement in the granting of the order. There was a bunch of conditions. I don't know that one of those conditions was an evacuation plan, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but what I found very interesting, and I haven't seen what we filed, but yesterday the governor just released the initial findings of the working group that just finally established. And there's like 15 recommendations, and there's a public comment period. So the state itself is still wrestling what the actual safety features and what actual safety standards these things should be built, constructed, installed, and evacuation plans and all that kind of stuff. Yes, the state itself still wrestling with this. So if the state itself is still wrestling with this, I think it should be self-evident that the Public Safety Commission was arbitrary and capricious because the state itself doesn't even know what standard they should be using. So until that's completely rectified, these things should all be there should be a moratorium on all these things. Hopefully that logic dictates over other logic or illogic.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chris, in the lawsuit, the other fires that you had cited in that lawsuit, do you know if they were volunteer fire districts or if they were a paid fire district?
I assume they were volunteer because one was East Hampton and 2 were upstate.
One is Warwick, which is a small little town.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Chris, you'll update us as we move forward?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Board discussion items, I think we did them all during the superintendent's report. Future discussion items on the board? Yeah.
I just want to wish everybody good luck in the playoffs in all of our different teams that will be participating. And to my favorite senior wrestler, Thomas, I just want to wish him good luck at the counties this weekend. Go Sachem.
Thank you, Mary. Any discussion items, future discussion items? I know we're going to be kind of bogged down with the budget and things like that. We could talk about that. I guess in future board discussion, Chris, the possibility of a resolution to reduce the size of the board to 7. I guess that would have to be an open meeting discussion.
Yeah.
So maybe we could add that and get some input and some legal advice as to how, if the board wants to pursue that, what the process is. Okay. Any other?
Are we going to release the results of that survey that we sent out to the community?
We'll close it
Absolutely.
within the next couple of days, and then obviously share it with the board, and then we'll
Share it with-
however you want to use it.
Okay.
You guys.
Thank you.
That's really going to determine how we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Any other future discussion items? Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 28th. This particular time, I need a motion to go into exec session, discuss appeals, student appeals for suspension as well as transfer, as well as real property tax exemption and an update on the Union Avenue individual disclosure update. Vinnie Reynolds, second by Matthew Bauman. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Have a good evening.